Started. Trying to get us started. So let's pull this in.
We are live on all the internet streaming services.
Oh, that's what you're trying to tell us?
Yeah.
All right, so we live, y'all. All right, let's do this.
All right. I don't even have my timer set up.
I like this new setup, though, Chandler. This is quite...
I was thinking about you guys when I got...
I appreciate it. We're going to get started here in just a quick second. Those of you who are listening, thank you for tuning in to United Shades of Gray, Conversations of Race in America on WSGW. This show will be simulcast live, recorded live, but it will be simulcast on Sunday at 7 p.m. on 790 AM and 100.5 FM at the same time. So you can listen to us once again if you enjoy the conversation.
Welcome to United Shades of Gray, Conversations of Race in America on 100.5 and 790 News Radio WSGW and online at WSGW.com. Here is your host, Kareem Bowen.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of United Shades of Gray, Conversations of Race in America. We have a good show that is here for you today. I got some great guys that are in the back studio there in the green room just waiting to come forward. And before we get going, I just want to give a shout out to my main man, my guy that's making this happen, that always has to wait on me, Chandler P, in the place to be. Why don't you say shout out to the people out there, man?
Hey, how's everybody doing out there tonight? I was pressing all kinds of the wrong buttons tonight, though, right? Because I was like,
yeah, you were having a moment, but you do so well, so I let it slide today
tonight. Only.
But let it continue. We'll have mutiny in here. But I wanted to say thank you all for tuning in, your continued listenership. And we are going to just jump right into things. I want to make sure that you all that are listening to us via social media, that you understand that this conversation is a live recording on social media, but we will be replaying this particular show. It will air on WSGW 100.5 FM and 790 AM as a simulcast on Sunday at 7 p.m. So we want you to get involved today. Feel free. Chandler, do you have the numbers, the information? If someone wants to call in and get involved with this conversation, why don't we let them know that as well? We'll put that in the stream if you're watching via social media, and we'll love to have your conversation or your chat, your ideas, your thoughts, concerns. All right, so we're gonna get into our conversation on today. You know how we always start out? We always start out talking about what's hot off the press, but in order to do that, I want to bring in my guest in advance. I want them to be a part of this conversation, so I'm not the only one who is unemployed on Monday morning, so they can join the team with me. All right, I want to bring to the stage, these are great guys. The first individual that we have here is attorney Mark Dotson. He is an attorney in the great city of Lansing. From Lansing, Mark, why don't you give everybody a shout out?
What's up? What's up? What's great city of Lansing?
Great city of Lansing, where we hail the Michigan State Spartans.
Yeah,
you know you love it.
Yeah, I do.
All right, and he loved it so much he had to go get him one to wife. So we appreciate that, Mark. And we also have with us community activist Jeffrey, the great thinker Bulls. Jeff, come on into the studio as well.
Thanks for having me.
And Jeff did not get the memo. If you all are watching on social media, that Michigan plaque has no place in this particular stream, but we're gonna let it fly. And I'm not sure what exactly. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, man. Come on, man. Come on.
Here we go.
That's just number one.
So these are great guys. I've known these guys for a long time, and I am excited about the conversation. So we're talking about what's hot off the press. Well, before we get started, I gotta let y'all know I got my first N-bomb this past week from a show, and someone by the name of Jeff Sprague, he was like, hey, he donned me with the N-bomb. I wear it like a badge of honor. Thank you so much, Mr. Sprague. What I really appreciate more than the comments that you left that I could not decipher through because they were pretty much unintelligible, was the fact that you're a listener. So I want you to continue follow us, continue to leave those comments, share with us your thoughts, opinions, and your ideas. I would love to have you call into the studio, at least even come to the studio and address your concerns, thoughts, and comments. I'm not sure exactly who you were upset that we were making comments by, but when you tell the truth, that tends to have that effect. But I certainly want to thank you for your listenership. I want you to stay tuned because we got more of that where that comes from. But let's get to the real business at hand. I just had to give him a shout out. He wanted some airtime. Our former vice president, Mike Pence, today, I mean, this is like hot off the press for real. He rebuked former number 45 in the strongest language we have seen anyone do in the RNC since the loss of his election. And he was just saying that he did not have the right to overturn the election. And he said something that I thought was very powerful. He said that we cannot lose faith in the Constitution. When we do so, we fail as a nation. And so it's going to be interesting to see what the fallout is on that. And if we find some more Republicans that are able to get a spine and stand up for our I see, Mark, you're shaking your head. Not going to happen.
No, man, that's Republicans gangsters, man. They don't get down like that. I wonder what was in it for Spence. Spence got slid. They slid him some money, man. He went on up. I don't even know why he went up there and did that, because I think he said something similar before, but he didn't mean none of that. He said, we can't what? We can't what? And really what he's saying is, see, you got to understand there's two sides of that. What he really is saying is we can't have elections stolen like we did last time. That's all he's saying. And gotcha. All right, that's all he's saying.
Well, to me, there's an admission of a loss to some degree in there somewhere. You don't see it that way.
No, he didn't say that. He said, look, we can't be. No, we didn't lose. We didn't lose legitimately, is what he's saying. He said we can't have elections stolen like the last one we had.
But I think that when he made the regardless, so there's an there's an acknowledgement that Donald Trump isn't the president. I think that's a baby step for us in some direction. But you know what? I hope that they begin to do something. I think that those who are the old school Republicans, because now we got the Trump Republicans. The old school Republicans are going to try and spin it and say, look, yeah, we're standing up for our rights. But I think that they're outnumbered. But we'll see what happens with that. You know, he was up in there like, say my name, say my name. You know, he said Donald Trump's name, said him by name. And so I think that was a milestone to address the issue and at least say his name.
All right.
It's a low bar, but
you gotta take the victories where they come from. All right.
Yeah, okay.
But I do want to turn the corner because I know that this conversation probably could be a whole show if it had not been for the way that the news and things that were happening in the world were breaking. This probably would have been the main conversation I would have wanted to have with you guys, and that is with the situation with Whoopi Goldberg. We know Whoopi Goldberg from The View. I'm not a television person by any means. I've seen The View. I've watched it usually when it was controversial or when someone was getting fired. I did do a show when Sharon Osbourne and her Karen moment when she started crying because she had offended somebody. But so now we're looking at this situation with Whoopi Goldberg, and on her show she made the statement. And I'm not even really sure. I didn't go back to take a full look at it. Did you see it?
I didn't see it, but I had to go.
I did not.
Go look and see what she said, and it was a little weird.
Yeah, no, it was weird. But did you understand context under what was the reason she was making? We were having this conversation on the View.
I think it was like, what was it? I don't even know what they were talking about. Like
she said that it wasn't about Jews specifically. It was about a guy trying to be a dictator, and he was an equal opportunity dictator. So he wasn't really targeting Jews. He was targeting anybody that wasn't like him. Anybody that was going to resist him taking over. He was a maniac like that, and that's what that was about.
Was she talking about number 45? No. I'm joking.
All right, man, you get that N-word again. Is that what you're doing?
But the essence of what she was saying was that the Holocaust was not about race.
Right.
That is in essence the phrase I think that the Jewish community took issue with. And it was kind of interesting to me because I am a pastor, but I had an opportunity to study under a Jewish rabbi both at Michigan State University and then after with the more progressive mosque, not mosque, that's the other ones. I can't think of the name of it right now. There we go. And so anyways, we were there, and so as I looked at it and what I've thought historically and what I've in terms of my historical understanding is that in terms of race, Jews were always considered white people. There's, you look at the box, there are, you have white, you have, there's, we understood that whites encompassed Europeans and then a lot of other nationalities, but it was more based upon the race, based upon your skin. I understand that race is a social race is a social construct. I do get that. But, you would be black and then you would be black, not of Hispanic descent. So we're not talking about their ethnic identity, and really Hitler was a white man. And I think that, the Holocaust was an atrocity that we acknowledge in our country and in our history, just as slavery was. These are things that, if we could do them over again, I wish they had never occurred. But the fact of the matter is, just as slavery was about race. And I'm thinking in my head that this is where it was going. It was about a race of people that were being demoralized and dehumanized. And when I look at the Holocaust, I see a white ethnic group that is being destroyed by a group of their same race and a different ethnicity. And so when I listen to what she was saying, in my understanding, when I look at Germans, when I look at French folk, when I look at folks from the Norway and all of these other countries, they're all white people to me, as far as I always understood it. They were white people. When I look at Africans, when I look at Jamaicans and all these other, they're all black folk. So that's the race that you come from, but the ethnicity in terms of their Jewishness and them being, their Hasidic nature and who they are as a people, and as an entity and as a culture, that dealt more so with their ethnicity. So I really didn't understand what the backlash was from, but I guess we really should not have the right to define who people are, but accept their own definitions of who they are. I don't know, gentlemen, what were your takes on this particular situation?
I thought it was deeper than first of all, I was surprised that they were carrying that kind of conversation, and I wish I had known more context because I don't. So I got a big ignorance on the context of the discussion, how it led to that, what made her be so passionate about her position, and then
they were discussing the book banning of Mouse, that comic book about the Holocaust.
Okay. And there's triple ignorance. I don't know anything about that. It just seems, based on what I know about the show, and maybe I got to give the show more credit than what I am. I just don't see it as being that kind of show where they had those kind of deep diving, probing conversations in the first place. But I'll just defer to you guys. And
Mark, I think that's good because I want you to keep your day job. But at the end of the day, when I look at these things, actually, I think that there was a changing, kind of a shifting, and honestly, I'll tell you, I think a lot of the backlash behind this, and this is just me putting my thinking caps on, and just kind of looking at things. It was really around the fact, if you all remember the whole Sharon Osbourne incident, and Sharon comes, she is an icon. She's a superstar. And so I think that a lot of the issues that happened with her, people were upset that, she was let go because of her insensitive comments with Cheryl Underwood. And then she began to cry because Cheryl Underwood was hurt. And so I think that there has been this sentiment that they were upset that, people did not come in and they've been waiting for an opportunity. So I think this is really unresolved issues and an unresolved conversation from what had happened back with Cheryl Underwood and Miss Ozzy Osbourne, Cheryl Osbourne. So, but we'll see what happens. I'm interested in seeing. Now, the thing that I did think was interesting when Whoopi came, she was like, I'm not about, I said, she gave us some needy leaks. I said what I said. And, it's interesting. And I don't want to throw this other guy out there because there's a young man that is a media mogul. And you gentlemen that are part of this conversation, you would know this. He made some statements about, I think his statement was that the original Jews were black. And you know what I'm talking about then, Jeff, right? He made the statement that the original Jews were black. And this takes nothing away from anybody that exists today. But if you understand how man became into existence, and you understand where the cradle of civilization is, you understand the dynamics of the Kimi people and who the Semitic people were, then you don't take offense to that statement. But there was a huge backlash. He was off TV for a long time. He had to sit in front of the Jewish rabbi and, probably pay his homage to the great father and all that good stuff. He's back on television now. So I think that Whoopi is going to have to, she either stands her ground or she'll have to, kiss the ring and bow down. Because when we think about entertainment and we think about media in the United States, the Jewish community runs, if you want to be off the air, and I'm having this bold conversation, I don't think that I'm being offensive, but if someone's offended, that's not my desire, but you won't silence my opinion. And one of the things that we have in the United States is the right to our opinion and to the freedom of speech. Now, if they have the freedom of cancellation too, in our cancel culture, as we call it. But when we look at this, I think that this show and the platform, United Shades of Gray, Conversations of Gray, if you don't ever get to a place that you can talk about these things, you'll never be able to solve them. But we can solve any issue that we're willing to talk about. And that means not being so sensitive and taking, your feelings off of your shoulders. So I want to thank you guys for listening to me as I bantered for a minute. All right. So this is Black History Month, and I am going to have you guys ever heard of Claudette Coven? My brothers that are on the line with me, we have two powerful African-American men that are here with us. Claudette Coven, you guys ever hear Claudette Coven?
I have not.
Okay. Well, those of you who are listening as listeners, and Chandler, I hope you're paying attention. This is your moment in Black History Month. I'm getting ready to culturate you, okay? No, I'm just joking with you. This is my guy. But Claudette Coven, back in 1955, I think it was February 2nd of 1955, she was 15 years old. She was 15 years old, and she happened to be pregnant at the time. She was sitting on a bus after coming from school, and the white bus driver, the bus got full. The white bus driver told her that she had to get up and give her seat to a white woman that was standing nearby. Now, in her own words, she said that she would have done it if it was an elderly lady, but this was a young woman that was almost her age. So she told them she wasn't getting off. And in essence, when we think about the beginning of the Montgomery boycott, we have often given Rosa Parks as the individual who was the one that sparked that, and by her non-willingness to give up her seat. But in reality, before there was a Rosa Parks, there was a Claudette Coven. And so she refused to give up her seat. She was dragged off the bus. This is 15 years old. Instead of going to a juvenile detention center, they took her to jail. And she was charged with resisting arrest, assaulting an officer, and violating civil rights laws. Two of those charges were dropped later. She went to court. Now, this is the thing, and this is what I think is interesting. Understanding the time, and there was something, and I talked to y'all about the brown bag test and the paper bag test, and how you had to be, if you were lighter than a paper bag, you could pass, and if not, we had that conversation. If not, go through and listen to the trove of messages that we've had about that. But understanding the times, the civil rights, the NAACP at that time, and it was called STIC, STLLC. Well, I can't think of the letters were, but it was the organization that was moving forward with progressing the issues of Black America. They did not want to use her as the face of the civil rights movement because, one, she was unwed as a pregnant 15-year-old mom. Two, she was dark-skinned, and they thought that she would be less palpable to the white community. And three, they just thought Rosa Parks, because she was married, fit better. So they did nothing to support her in her initial efforts of standing up and not giving up her seat. 9 months later, Rosa Parks comes in, who had taken this young girl under her wings after hearing her story. And, this young lady would go in. Rosa Parks made wedding dresses. She would stand as a mannequin for Rosa Parks' her dresses, and befriended this lady. She stayed in her home. 9 months later, Rosa's tired. She's not getting up. Now, Rosa is 62, 72, whatever it was. She was 42 at the time. She was 42 at the time. I saw those fingers going. She's 42 at the time it happened. She's refusing to get up because she's tired. And because of that, they then use her as the icon for the civil rights movement and the reasoning behind the bus boycott. But the reality of the situation, if it wasn't for Claudette Coven, who actually stood up and gave the idea that this is something that we can do and actually survive, we probably would have not been able to overturn those situations in court, and we would not have had an end to segregation in Montgomery's bus. This has been your moment in Black history. You know, you can't take everything that you hear in the short-sighted history books, but you got to dig into history books sometimes. And so I just wanted to share that with you guys on today. How are we doing as far as time, Chandler? All right, we're going to get into this conversation. Today's conversation, we're going to talk about racism and how it is still alive and well in professional sports. I got with me today attorney Mark Dotson, my main man. I've known Mark for so many years, at least 15, 16, 17 years, somewhere around there.
More, hey, man, come on.
If not longer. And Jeff Bulls, he is our community activist. It makes things happen in the community. Just recently appointed, and I want to say congratulations to you, to the mayor of the city, her ARPA board, her ad hoc committee, to determine what's going to happen with those ad hoc dollars. So if y'all want some money, y'all better go get Jeff. He's got all that money, $52 million in his pocket. All right, gentlemen, I want to just set the stage for this. This week, the story and all of the press was surrounding former Dolphins coach Brian Flores. He filed the lawsuit against the NFL claiming racial bias and discrimination. I like to say to my listeners that are out there, I need you to tune into this conversation because today only one of 28 head coaches employed in the NFL is a Black man, with 4 teams officially without head coaches at this time. We got 4 minutes. Okay, we're going to get this in. And now I need you to understand that roughly 70% of the players of the NFL are Black. We had this whole conversation, and this brings me right back to where we were with the Colin Kaepernick situation. And when we begin to look at this and we discuss all of these things that were going on, it was interesting that when these allegations were made, these head coaches made absolutely zero. They wasted no time in firing back. I want to just get your insights, Mark, Jeff, whichever you would like to go ahead. What are your thoughts about this allegation that we see Flores making concerning the NFL? Is this something that surprised you?
Jeff, go ahead, man.
Thanks, Mark. I'd say a definitive no. It didn't surprise me at all. I mean, we've been here before. You know, I'm kind of over it, to be honest, and not in the sense of, you know, that we shouldn't call out racism, but you know, we're in a place now where, you know, we've been here over and over, and you know, the players aren't stepping up to back him. You know, and people are still watching. So, you know, what are we really going to do about it? Like we keep getting these example after example, and it's not hurting their bottom line.
All right, you said that you said a lot in that statement, Mark. What are your thoughts?
Oh yeah, he hit it. It's tired, and I suppose the discussion is being had to see not only to highlight the fact that it's still going on, which is no surprise. But the fix has got to be the brothers got to. You said 70% of the league, they got to go ahead and step up, man. They got to take it more seriously than talk shows take it. And so I'm not surprised. I am getting back to his allegations. Man, he better have some receipts, because especially with respect to tanking games and throwing games and getting paid for throwing games, that's scandalous. The other stuff they can kind of hide and sugarcoat and maybe massage it a little bit. I don't blame those that came out and said that that's not I think it was Elway said. No, that didn't have anything to do with race. I get it. By the way, Whoopi did apologize.
She did apologize.
Yeah, she did apologize. Anyway, yeah, no surprise there. It is damning. It is embarrassing. It is ridiculous when you look at that, and even as extreme as and as apparent as the discrimination is and the racism is, it's as if we can still talk about maybe their explanations for what we see out there. No, it's crazy, man. And again, if the players And it works its way down to some of the college teams too, man. Because the college teams, you don't see it there either, in the numbers that they should be. And they keep talking about qualifications. Well, they need to figure out how coming from a certain background makes you especially qualified by being able to deal with people the way you've had to deal with people makes you qualified. So we just got to change the whole discussion when it comes to what makes somebody qualified, and you got to respect the value and see the value in people that are different and might have an ability to maybe motivate this larger base of individuals that maybe non-familiar folks would, et cetera, et cetera. Until it starts impacting the bottom line, there's no motivation. There's no reason for them to go ahead and change their habits.
All right, we're going to be right back. We're going to dive deeper into this conversation. You're listening to United Shades of Gray, Conversations of Race in America. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in. Those of you who are listening and those of you who are listening via social stream and are tuned into this conversation, we're going to, on the other side of this commercial break, as we take a quick break, I want us to look at this because there's a couple of things I think are going to be important to talk about. We're going to bring up the conversation of Hugh Jackson saying that, hey, I think we're probably going to see additional things coming to the surface, would be my thought. But also, one of his assistants came and was speaking with a reporter and said, Flores, go ahead because we got receipts. So when you talk about that, we'll see what happens with that. And then we also want to talk about the NBA's new relationship with fans betting and their relationship with Vegas and how this plays into a controversy that's even bigger than what we're hearing, because now if teams are tanking these games, what's the issue? Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back with more of United Shades of Gray.
So Jeff, where are you, man?
I'm in Saginaw.
Okay. How long you been there?
Lifelong. That's
the Nickelberries are my people, if you know them.
Who's that?
Nickelberries are my people.
Oh man, yeah, yep. Grew up in the same neighborhood, man. Probably a block over.
Yeah, those are my people.
Okay.
First cousins: Vaughn, Rose, Vaughn Jr., Harvey, Earl,
man. Yeah,
Carol, Deborah, Bobby, Carol.
Yeah, I know Vaughn for sure.
Yeah. Senior or junior?
Junior.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, a small world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sam me a tight, man. Sam Webb.
Yeah, man, that's where I heard you that's on the radio.
Do you listen on the stream? You stream it?
Yep.
Yeah. Morning show?
Yep.
Did you hear Jamie in the afternoon? Did you hear Jamie go off on Hardball yesterday?
No, I didn't. I have to go check it out.
He killed him. He slaughtered him, man. I'll send you a second. Let me see where I can find that right away.
Yeah, they've been going in. I don't know. I just, it's business to me. I didn't see it any other way.
Nope. Just like anybody else. Hey, look, I'm looking around. These people all caught up in their feelings, man. How come how long you don't like Michigan like I love Michigan? I never leave Michigan. Yeah, you would.
All right, you Michigan fans, we're getting ready to get started again. Y'all can save that conversation for somebody who really cares. Here we go.
I just text you the Kareem. You can unless you can handle listening to a Michigan discussion.
You're listening to United Shades of Gray on WSGW.
This is Kareem, and you're back. You're tuned in to United Shades of Gray, Conversations of Race in America. I am in studio, and I have with me in our live stream Mark Dotson, attorney down in Lansing, and Jeffrey Bulls, community activist here in the city of Saginaw, making great things happen. And I have Jeff here because Jeff always has an interesting perspective, and I enjoy having these conversations with him. Before we went to break, we were talking about, were we surprised by what was going on? For those of you who are tuning in, we are having a discussion about the role that race is currently playing, yet plays in professional sports, with Brian Flores, former Dolphins head coach. After being fired about a month ago or so, he's coming in saying that a lot of what's going on with him and the racial bias and discrimination that he has experienced, and the teams have responded. I thought about something that was interesting. Oftentimes we say, and I said it before, Ray, I can say I have the right to say what I want to, freedom of speech and expression, right? We got that. We have that constitutional right. And I remember Master P, of all persons to learn a lesson, he told a young man, he says, unless you own the station or you own the television company, you can't say whatever you want to. You have to say what's in alignment with what those individuals who own it believe in. And he says, until you own your own, then you have to be aware of what it is that you're saying. And so I think that this brings up a larger piece here in terms of ownership with NFL teams, and also leadership as we're having this conversation. All right, so the Denver Broncos president of football operations, this is what you were talking about, Mark. John Elway came out and he said, hey, these allegations they're false and defamatory. I think the Broncos had interviewed Flores for the team head coaching job back in 2019. He says, we interviewed him, he had his shot, he didn't make the cut. But in addition to that, I want to say that Hugh Jackson, formerly of the Cleveland Browns, he said that the owner, Jimmy Haslam, put forth a bribe. It was basically a bribe to lose games. The 16-17 year, 2016-17, I think their record was 1-31. And he said, hey, his coach put out there to him, we need to lose some games so that we can better position ourselves. We know it's all about the NFL draft, NBA draft. We've seen this happen before. What are your thoughts about that, Mark, when you hear that's a whole nother situation here, like, being paid? And I think that Flores alludes to the same thing. What are your thoughts concerning that?
Hey, man, that's weird. That's just weird. I wish I knew more about that. And for real, it's weird. It's weird that they would go out like that. It's weird that they would think that they would have the confidences of the people that they're paying, like Hugh and Flores, allegedly. I just don't get it, man. That's brazen. For draft picks, I'd like to go back and maybe have somebody do a documentary on just how things played out that year, because again, that's incredulous. But again, they better have receipts.
But actually, I think it was Flores's the name of his foundation, not Flores, but Hugh Jackson. Kimberly Demert was the executive director of the Hugh Jackson Foundation. She reported, hey, we got the receipts. So
okay.
Hey, so if she's saying she's got receipts, I think the plot thickens. But is this really something, losing games for better positioning? That's not anything that's different. It's not really weird, Mark, because we usually use the injured reserve. You
got ways to do it legally, man. You ain't got to mess around, pay somebody extra money. You just say, hey, look, man, look, we're gonna bench our people, we're gonna put them in injured reserve. You got ways to do it, man. And I don't even know how significant a move would have been when he came from taking games. And look, Hugh's got a real problem with his players.
Absolutely.
If indeed he took money and facilitated games being lost, because you got internal implications there when it comes to, maybe some guys are into a new contract, but they're losing games, so maybe they're not as marketable or as valuable as what they might have been otherwise. Yeah. Maybe they could have gotten more rushes, maybe more maybe more passes, maybe more catches, maybe more whatever. I don't even know how a coach manages tanking a game. A coach, that's not obvious.
Because you would have to imagine that it would have to be beyond the coach. That means that the team has to buy into this understanding. Right. And so in his defense, what they were saying was that they had all of this money available if they lost games. So I don't know if they're telling players, hey, if you fumble that ball, we're gonna give you a little bonus at the end of this. And so his thought was, I don't want the money for myself or for my players, but we want the money to help build the team. This is really crazy, but I want to bring up from before we get into the whole idea of this, really the implicit bias, the what we would call nepotism, or just the system happen the way that we're used to it happening from time to time, and talking about the Dan Rooney law. I want to talk about, isn't there a real implication of a problem? Because now professional and college sports are, you can bet on them. Before it was all, under the table. This is a real thing. People and teams in Vegas, there has to be a partnership with Vegas. Doesn't this now constitute a whole nother issue that is out there? If we got coaches tanking games on purpose, with people putting their hard-earned sports dollars into these betting rings, how do we handle that?
Well, you see what Michigan State just did, right?
No, what did they do?
They just associated with one of the gambling sites. What's the one out of? Yeah, they're
really?
You didn't know about that?
No, that's breaking news. I missed that, and that happened in my backyard.
I thought you was trying to be conveniently ignorant.
No, please educate your brother.
Michigan State. Hold on. Do you know about it? I'm going to look it up right
now. I know about
it.
The name escapes me, but they have a major partnership with them.
Yep.
They're one of the leading sponsors of Michigan State football now.
And so they built a partnership, or they canceled the partnership. What do we do?
They just created one. They just entered into one. They're going to have a presence, a visible marketing presence. They're going to have seats in the stadium. I know football. I don't know about basketball. Seats in the stadium where VIP type bettors, big bettors can come sit in the VIP seats. Oh yeah, it's and I'm not sure all of what's in it for Michigan State. I assume they're gonna kick Michigan State some money, but yep.
Well, did you were you able to find that, Tyler? Chandler? Y'all help me. I keep calling Chandler Tyler. Chandler.
Who am I? FanDuel? Is that FanDuel?
Yep, that's it.
Yep.
So they now have a partnership with FanDuel.
Yep.
And so they are becoming so is this the wave, Mark? Now you're a Michigan guy. Is this the wave of the future for sports, that we now have betting sites and teams? And what's going on in sports? The thing that I loved about college sports was that it was untainted, that it was beautiful to see. If you had bets, people did what they did, but it's the thing that I love. People played with passion, with heart. They would run up the court. They weren't faking. They were playing through injuries, with injuries, because it was about that big, the big game and the thrill of winning. But how do you think? What are your thoughts about gambling in college sports, as well as what's happening with these teams now staging losses allegedly? And does this impact the what do we say, the essence or the quality of the game that we're watching?
Me personally, I'm glad to see it, only because it removes this fake veil of amateurism that they've always had. Ain't nothing amateur about college sports. The only thing amateur about college sports is that the players didn't get paid. Everybody else did.
Oh, there's multi-billions, billions of dollars. Yeah.
So now with the NIL and with gambling, with these partnerships, you see it for what it is now. Like this is, it's not the NFL, but this is big time athletics, and you got big time money, and the players are just the last ones to get to the trough of money. That's it.
Well, no, I agree with you right there. That's been something that has been an issue a long time. That issue falls very close to my home personally. But Mark, take us to court here.
Let me hold on a second. It's Caesars
Caesar.
Sportsbook. Caesars Sportsbook, not FanDuel. Caesars Entertainment and Michigan State University have entered into a multi-year partnership whereby Caesars Sportsbook will be the exclusive sports betting and iGaming partner of MSU Athletics.
It's
an exclusive offer.
Yes.
You know what? I want to. It makes me want to say something, and this is because I understand the alumnus situation at Michigan State. There is a direct connection with MSU alumnus situation and Caesar, and I don't know if I'm getting in trouble saying that.
Got to get that Tucker money. Gotta get that Tucker money.
There you go, man. Hey, man. Hey. Circumstances of the agreement include a Caesars premium seating and tailgating area at Spartan Stadium effective next season, as well as signage in Spartan Stadium and at basketball and hockey games. Additional advertising as deemed appropriate.
Okay.
Go ahead.
This is crazy. I didn't want to get caught in that. That's a whole nother show right there. I want to get back to I want to get back to this conversation of Flores and him having now. He brings up the issue of bias, and we understand. Mark, you and I had a very interesting conversation about bias and cultural consciousness and cultural competency and all of these other terms that they've now. I'll tell you, I am a trainer, and we've trained implicit bias and cultural competency and all of these things. But when we look at this,
did you fix them?
What's that?
Did you fix them? You mean you trained them? You trained them to be biased? What do you mean you trained them?
They're free from bias, never to be biased again. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Money back guaranteed. But the reality of the situation is, the allegation of racism in the manner in which it is being detailed or alleged is such that he says that now he brings in another big name, Belichick. Hey, I went to go interview for this head coaching position, and by accident I received a text message from Belichick, one of the icons of football, telling me that they had already decided to go with. They already knew that they were going to hire someone else. So when you talk about issues, now, if you got a text message that was intended for someone else that was a part of the hiring pool, what in the world what does that say? Come on, Mark.
It was misdirected, but I'm not quite sure if it was. I think what Belichick ended up, he did reveal that they had already made a decision.
Yes.
He thought the decision was for Flores. It was two Bryans. So he reached out to Flores.
Allegedly.
No, I think it's true. Both of them I think he reached out
Brian
to Flores.
Daboll and Brian Flores.
Yeah.
Yep.
He reached out to Flores thinking, congratulations, you my guy. You gonna get the Giants job. And he said, well, wait a minute, coach, I ain't interviewed yet. and then Belichick went back and checked whoever communicated with him and said, oops. It wasn't that Brian. It wasn't you, Brian. It was another Brian. My bad for the miscommunication. So I don't think he necessarily was meaning to reach out to Daboll. I think he meant to reach out to Flores, but he certainly passed on the fact that a decision had been made even before Flores had a chance to interview.
Okay, so here is the problem, and he cites 3 or 4 other teams that he was given, quote unquote, a sham. His words, not mine. A sham interview.
Yeah.
To check boxes. Now this is where I think that the real conversation lies, right in this place right here, because we know Dan Rooney, longtime Steelers chairman, he championed this Rooney Rule, which we now have, in order to allow for the opportunity for more minorities to have an opportunity, and it was based upon the fact that he saw Tony Dungy continually interviewing for these jobs. GM owner, GM coach, all of these, and never giving an opportunity and being passed over. And his thought was, hey, he is more talented than any of these other guys that they're giving a job. And so he began to really push. And so now we have this Rooney Rule, which says that if you're going to be applying or hiring, interviewing for a job, you have to have at least 2 minorities that are part of that interview process.
Is that the rule?
That's
I never knew. I never knew what. Okay.
Yeah. So the rule is you have to interview at least 2 minorities. So in order for this situation to happen, this is where I think it gets real sticky legally for Belichick, and Belichick is going to have to speak. When we think about this, Mark, you're an attorney. You know that there's not been any, there's not a case filed against him. Flores isn't suing him. He's not in criminal jeopardy. So he cannot plead the 5th because the 5th is only for people who incriminating themselves, correct? So technically, I think he's going to have some issues. Now, you're the attorney. We'll go with what you have to say.
Yeah, but you I don't know why you don't think he couldn't necessarily be incriminating himself.
Because he's currently not being prosecuted. Is that not the case?
He could be prosecuted. I don't know. It doesn't mean that they couldn't find charges based on what he did.
Yes.
That's all. So currently he's not being prosecuted, but he can say something that might lead to him getting prosecuted. What the charge would be, I don't know. Once I saw what was going on and you mentioned the 5th Amendment, I kept thinking, okay, what potentially could be a potential criminal charge that might emanate from this? And I can't really think of any.
Exactly.
Except maybe racketeering, maybe conspiracy. I can't dismiss entirely the prospect that he won't get up there and say, I'm going to plead the 5th.
Well, okay, so I'm not saying that he would, but I'm just thinking, I was just thinking, trying to put on my hat, and I was just thinking that pleading the 5th is doing yourself harm in terms of, you bringing harm upon yourself, right?
It's less harm than what you might bring upon yourself if criminal charges are brought. I tell my people all the time, man, and I used to prosecute and I used to represent. I was a legal advisor for the Lansing Police Department when I was working over there. Tell them all the time, don't talk. They're not your friend. You do not talk. He said, well, what if I'm not a friend? You do not talk because you never know what's around the corner. Oh, I can't say that I can't say out of hand that you will be better off talking than you would be not talking. At least when the people are going to look at you the way they want to look at you anyway. Really, right. The only people that really appreciate the 5th Amendment are people that get caught up in the system. Everybody else says, well, if you ain't hide something, you should go ahead and talk, right?
Right.
No.
Pleading the 5th makes you guilty, but that's not always.
No.
Okay,
it makes you stupid. For all the people that are listening, pleading the 5th is a better move, is a more intelligent move than talking to police.
And that's what I wouldn't talk at all.
You say you wouldn't talk at all either, Joe?
No, I don't. Well, I'm a person. I don't put anything past the NFL. They're going to protect the shield.
You better believe
they're not. Beyond throwing Bill under the bus too to protect themselves. He's not bigger than the shield. So.
Okay, so this is my thought, though. Okay, if he did in fact send out a message, regardless of how confused or discombobulated he may have been, and it went to the wrong person saying, "Hey, we've already chosen our guy," and the Rooney Rule says that you have to interview. I mean. It's a sham interview if you're letting me know before I get there that you've already made your decision. Then you're bringing me in. It's a horse and pony show.
It smells like it. It smells like it. So they can be. Look, man, I am so used. Society. I don't even know what the trigger for this is. I can't tell you the number of times I've said football and somebody heard me say refrigerator. People age. Attention, ability, deficits, etc. People hear what they want to hear, and whatever else is prominent. Bill could have been told a number of different things. Bill could have been told that the other Brian was at the top of the list, and he took that as saying they made their decision. I don't know, or he could have been. He could say, "Look, man, they got their guy. Whatever they got their guy."
So Bill needs to speak then.
Yeah, Bill needs to speak.
Okay, because if that is the case, and there was a decision made before he was given an opportunity, and based upon their own rule to bring in equity and inclusion as it relates to minorities, then that means that either I'm giving a full share and you make the decision after interviewing everybody, or there's a pre-selection process. And so here, based upon what we're seeing and hearing, it looks like it is pre-selective in nature. But I want to say this. When we
look, man, this is Rooney Rule. You got the language there. Hey, man, I can't necessarily dismiss the possibility the Rooney Rule just said, look, we made our decision and we're going to still go through and interview our two people like we need to. But
No. The Rooney Rule specifically says, and this, like I said, that there has to be at least two minorities considered in those upper level jobs when they're doing those interview processes
before they make the decision.
I mean, otherwise it's not a real interview if you do it.
Hey man, I'm not unfamiliar.
I mean, but this is the no, that's exactly what I'm saying. How many times have we been to an interview and you know it goes back to this idea that when a black man gets a job in whatever field it is, sports, whatever it is, that he is somehow getting it by affirmative action. But we have seen for decades, for eons, that white men getting jobs and there's been no problem because these white people have a connection to the other people that are already in power. And so what I'm saying is to do that puts that same institution, and this is where we get the concept of institutionalized racism, that if the institution promotes power from within without examining other candidates who have a viability to fulfill that position, then this is in fact racism. It's having a bias for someone based upon nothing more than your relationship or your knowledge of that individual without really taking into effect their qualifications. Now, I'm gonna turn the tide.
I don't know if that it ain't necessarily
racism. It's beyond racism. It's
a little deeper than that. I'm gonna hook up my boy, and if my boy happens to be black, then that's who I'm hooking up. If my boy happens to be white, then that's who I'm hooking up. If my boy happens to be my whatever.
So Mark, this is what I'm saying. So if your boy, and that's exactly what it is, the good old boys network. If we have a situation where there's only 1 in 28 teams with a black coach, 4 teams don't even have one hired, and then you have 70% of your population. Your athletes are. Where does the
hey man, they got to have a consciousness. They got to see outside themselves. They got to see. They got to be able to see exactly what's wrong about what they're doing, and they don't want to do that naturally. I thought at one time, Jeff. I saw a proposal where they would give some type of bonus to people that hired a minority coach. In other words, draft
that was
picks
out there.
Yeah.
That was out there for a minute.
Or was that just?
I don't think it was ever implemented. I think it was a part of when they were going through their labor disputes. It was something that was in that conversation. I don't think it ever came to pass though.
Guys, you're not going to believe this, but this hour has gone by so fast. Really, really a quick 48 minutes. But I do want to say this. I want you guys to think back to when the Miami Heat were out there and they had all of those superstars on one team. And some guy that was in the film room, Eric Spoelstra, ended up being the head coach of that team. That would never have happened in Black America. And going from film room to the head coach, coaching Dwayne Wade and Udonis Haslem and all of these great individuals. But we have to understand that when Jay-Z stood up for what was supposed to be a changing of the guards, that we've got to understand that we've got to be aware of those who are willing to take the lead and say that they're going to stand and fight for us. Because the only thing I've seen change since Kaepernick and Jay-Z have taken positions are the level of entertainment at halftime. I say we got to make a change. We got to hit them in the pocketbook, like you said, Mark. And if we're really going to bring it, the players have got to stand up for their own rights. I thank you guys for tuning in today. Come back next week with more conversations of race in America right here on United Shades of Gray. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Mark, are you singing Negro spirituals over there?
Yeah.
All right, Mark. I want to bring you all. I want to bring you guys back. I talked to Lamont Smith. He couldn't be on here today. You know Lamont, right? I asked you about that, Mark.
I know of him.
Okay, Lamont is Lamont. Lamont is a good friend. He is the owner of BDA Sports, and not BDA Sports. BDA is Brian Duffy Sports. All Sports AS something. But anyways, he has a really, really power position as being probably the leading one of the leading agents, but also being one of the leading Black agents representing some of the top guys. And it would be interesting to see how he sees this from an agent's perspective, working with the league. How has his access been as an agent? How has it been when negotiating plays and players for the league? And so I would really be interested. And he's somebody that fits the conversation that you're always barking about when you're on the radio as well, Mark.
How you know, man? You don't, man. Hey, man, did he used to be associated with Eugene Parker?
He certainly did.
Eugene's son was in my class a couple semesters ago.
Man, Eugene was a phenomenal guy, man.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, phenomenal guy.
They call him the Godfather. I'm talking to him, the son, and we're talking. I said, "What are you thinking about doing, man?" He said, "Well, I'm thinking about I might want to follow my dad's shoes. I might want to do some agent work." I said, "Okay." He's being kind of coy with it, kind of modest with it. I said, "Okay, what does your I know Charles Tucker. I know some people in the business. Charles T said, "Oh yeah, that's my boy. Cha-Cha's my guy. I love Cha-Cha." I said, "Man, he said, "My dad was really tight with Dr. Tucker." I said, "What's your dad's name?" He said, "Eugene." I said, "Eugene Parker?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah."
Man, I'm gonna tell you, when in dealing with players in the league and working with representation, there were 3 guys that I thought were absolutely phenomenal guys and had the utmost integrity. It was Eugene Parker, Lamont Smith, and Bill Duffy from BDA Sports. Those 3 gentlemen, and I think it was because they didn't just represent these players from an athletic perspective, but they understood that at some point that these men would be fathers, they would be husbands, they would be returning to their communities, and they invested that type of leadership and that type of training in them. And so they took them in as like sons, and man, all of their guys.
You skipped over one dude, man.
Who's that?
Who dude? Poston. And so where's Poston? And he's Poston from Saginaw?
He from Saginaw, yeah.
I've met Calvin and Kevin Poston. I've met them both, and we are still on live stream. I'll say,
okay, my bad.
My earlier comments.
My bad.
I'll stand true to my earlier comments of what I said. I'll tell you, I've never. Yeah. So I think that this would be a great conversation.
I didn't know we was live, man. My bad.
You try to roll the bus over me over there, Mark. What's going on?
Hey,
but
man, I thought they were from Saginaw, though. They are from Saginaw.
They are, and have an amazing mother, Thelma Poston, who was an amazing real estate, almost mogul, I would say. She was one of the first that blazed the trail as it relates to much respect for her and what she was able to carve out in terms of that area. But yeah, they were on BET. They had was it BET that they did this? Not BET, HBO. There's a huge special on them because in basketball they became kind of the Don Dadas of sports and entertainment. And I've sat and I've had meetings with them, and because they were representing Penny Hardaway at the time when I sat and met with them. Yeah, so it was an interesting conversation, and it's good to see people from Saginaw.
Hey, man, how did where's Lamont from? I know Eugene's
in
from
Denver,
Wayne, right?
Yeah. He's in Denver now, so he operates out of Denver, but I'm not sure where he's from exactly. But it was funny because probably a few weeks ago I was in a live stream kind of like this, and he happened to call me because we were talking about he's always done football, and he was talking about doing a basketball arm. He's like, "Kareem, I need you to come," and I was like, I'm done. But he's always been one of the most above board professional people, and if anybody could get me to do it, it would be him. But yeah, so he's out of Denver. I'm not sure exactly where he hails from though.
His son's name is Austin Parker, and you're gonna make me reach out to him because he was a
man. If you do, man, I would love to have a conversation with his son, because his father was an amazing man, a great mentor, and he was absolutely one of the best when it came to sports. He actually came up to Saginaw. We sat and he came to Saginaw. We had some conversation, and I'll tell you, that was the guy that I really thought Jason should have went with when I sat and interviewed with him. And then, he had his health issues that kind of came out of nowhere later, but phenomenal man. He was actually a big guy in my heart.
I'm sending a text message in group, and you're gonna have his by virtue of this group text, you're gonna have his information.
Yeah, and I'd be interested in seeing what his son would say. And I would like to just let him know who his father was and what he represented. And I think that if we could get more agents like that, because I'll tell you what happened. You want to talk about racism in sports. When we talk about what happens to our young black men as they get into professional sports, actually it starts about college. When they get into college, you start having people that are not from the hood, that are not a part of that core team, coming in and telling me eventually you got to make your own decisions. You're going where these people have never been, and they start deteriorating, biting away at those familial, those neighborhood bonds, those people that kept us in check. And then they start putting, infusing money into your situation. And then all of a sudden you blinging and having clothes and your family trying to figure out what's going on, but they're buying your loyalty. And so by the time you leave college and you're going into the NBA, the story now becomes, and I've seen this happen a million times, look, nobody else has been where you are. You've got to be, make your own decisions. I know you got to grow up and tell mama and this, just let them do. And so then once they erode at that circle that surrounds you, that is your support, they then bring folks from Hollywood Hills and other places, Connecticut, and wherever else. You understand what I'm saying? They bring in their team. So if I come in and I'm now your white agent, I'm bringing a white accountant, I'm bringing a white personal assistant. Whereas otherwise, so now this young black man who grew up in the pavement, relying and being able to do the things that he did from Black America, is now completely surrounded, and the people that are benefiting from the fruits of his labor don't look like the community he came from. And so they bring their friends in, and they all take a bite out of this athlete in terms of the services that they provide and the things that they're doing. And that was one, if I was going to be a whistleblower on anything, it would be that right there. And then eventually that player stops coming home. That player stops wanting to be connected with things. He's now in a new upper echelon. The people that he has met, you guys aren't making moves. You've never been where I am. So I need to be around people who are making and that philosophy pulls the community out of that athlete. And if you guys just look at any of the athletes that were from communities around you, you recognize that they don't come back home. And right. This is the reason why this happens. This is the reason why. And then they're given negative stories or dialogues or conversation. There's a word that's escaping me, narratives about their hometown, and everybody wants something from you, and that becomes the narrative. And so we have to be more intentional as these young men approach their junior and senior years in college, high school, and they're entering into college, that we stay connected, that we continue. Tiffany Elsie right there. She's one of the women that I love you, Tiffany. She works with the Sean John. She was a senior marketing director, I think, for Sean John brand out there. She's saying you're so correct. This happens at an early age. So, and I've seen it as early as absolutely. Once the draft hits and they make that selection, we begin to see that tide turn, and we lose. When they say that, we have all of these athletes with all this money, is absolutely true. But the fact of the matter is that money no longer comes back to the communities from which they're from, because of the philosophies that are now being impacted in their minds. And so now they're Hollywood celebrities, not from, 6th Street and you know what I'm saying, 106 in Park. They're no longer doing that no more. So when we talk about it, it is a whole system that exists because they know that these young men are multi-millionaires and can change an entire neighborhood. They, allow them to do certain things that are not beneficial, to the detriment and to their longevity. as men of with money and the building of wealth. They allow them to enter into situations that are not consistent. Put that next comment up there, Sheba. Into situations that are indicative of them ending up poor and ending up broke instead of ending up wealthy. These players came in with a whole team of people disconnected from their backgrounds. That's exactly it. And she works in that entertainment world as well as with athletes. So, Tiffany, thank you for tuning in here today. I need to get you in here and we can talk about what's happening with the greatest brand that Black America has seen, which is the Sean John brand. He has purchased that brand back again, and we're going to see what happens. She's the woman who has made him be the brand that he is by putting him in stores and places all across the world. So thanks, Tiffany, for tuning in from LinkedIn. Guys, I want to thank you guys. Mark, you are my man. Let's have some off air conversations. And I want to carve out another conversation. I got a white brother that's going to be meeting me in here. His name is Mark Bassett. He is a corporate guy. And he has some very different thoughts and perspectives. So it'll be interesting to see that dynamic play out. All right. You guys have an amazing time. Thank you. Thank you for those of you who are tuning in and will watch this in its entirety or in its replay situation. Thank you guys. Take care.
Jeff, I'll be in touch, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, no friendship without me. Y'all can't be friends without me. That don't work that way. Just talking. Later, Jeff.
All right.
All right, be easy.